Good morning and thanks so much for tuning into the Trade Setup. I'm Neeraj Shah. Busy day of trade, lots of news, and the rupee is the big one. We'll talk about that as well. All through Monday, it was the key talking point. First, the global news flow and the global markets as they have behaved. So, the news flow: US stocks slipped on Tuesday after Monday's gain as traders lose faith in the rate cut bets. PBOC cuts key rates by the most since 2020 as the economic woes in China deepen. Asian markets fall as bank stocks retreat under pressure on Wall Street. And China has said, amongst other things, that it's agreed with India to resolve remaining issues along the LAC. I didn't read a release from the Indian side, but it's somebody like a common release. And if anything, this should actually augur well or mean well for our issues as well. Let's hope they stay up to their end of the bargain. Okay, so what did the markets do? US markets, well, they came off in trade yesterday. The Dow, the S&P, and the Nasdaq down about 1%. But keep in mind, the Nasdaq had gained 1% on Monday. We were shut on Tuesday, so that's to be borne in mind that there was a bit of a gain on Monday, and net it's net neutral for the Nasdaq at least. The Dow and the S&P, of course, didn't gain as much, and they have certainly fallen. So there's a bit of a pressure there. Yields, I think, have moved up 4.20 yet again for the US 10-year yield. So after the downdraft from 4.2 to 4.02 or 4.01, you're back to 4.20. So yields are certainly trading higher. The gift nifty, in line with the Asian market, should be showing a bit of a corrective move. The question is, how much further can it go? I'm very interested in this piece around what the chart's indicating, and therefore today we'll have a conversation with Gautam Shah on the same as well. Okay, yeah, this is the important one. The talking point at 9:30 a.m. today is Gautam Shah, Goldilocks Premium Research. I think it's important to understand what charts are indicating about the dollar index, about the US markets, and about, if anything else, the bank nifty out here in India. Frankly, the trade setup, and I think a lot of people or a lot of nerves are fretted around the inflation numbers, the CPI numbers, July inflation numbers. From what I hear people say, it's unlikely to rattle nerves too much because food inflation may well be transitory. If you hear the Reserve Bank of India, they also said that they hope. And Reserve Bank of India will never say that we know because nobody knows. But Dr. Michael Patra seemed pretty convinced that food inflation is transitory. So that's to be borne in mind. To my mind, looking at what chartists are saying, looking at what quant indicators are saying, the risk reward after today's 0.5% or 1% move is strictly against large leverage short trades on the index, at least. If anything, the high risk traders are actually taking the reverse bet. The question is, I don't know which one will pay off per se. Actually, no one knows, right, per se. But can you actually bet on the long other side, which is going long in such a tricky market scenario, is the question. But I certainly think that based on all the indicators on the technical side and the quant side, it may not be the best idea to initiate some naked shorts on the Nifty and the Bank Nifty after the start of 0.5% or thereabouts lower today. Tech companies are getting orders, and if this continues, it may change the sentiment very quickly on large cap ID because the sentiment is just so negative out there. Okay, stocks to watch, and we'll rush through this because we have a very important rupee conversation at about 8:10 or 8:12. So you have to tune in for that as well. But first, the stocks to watch list, and it's a long one, lots of news flow. Interglobe Aviation, Rakesh Gangwal and Shubha Gangwal will sell about 15.6 million shares, up to 4% of the equity. Offer floor price at 2,400 per share, which is a 5.8% discount to the last close price. Normally, if you just go to any airport, and I just went to one or two over the last few days, or 7 out of the 10 flights on the board are Indigo, and they're going full. So business case is okay. Crude prices are higher, so that's a negative. But if this gets absorbed quickly, then this is probably a large block getting absorbed and might augur well as well. Who knows? Let's wait and watch. Infosys, they've extended partnership with Liberty Global with a fresh 1.5 billion euro 5-year agreement. This should be shot in the arm. I think JP Morgan is saying that they are not too impressed because this could be margin dilutive or a deal. But in times of these wherein deals are not coming through, I would reckon this should be construed positively. Let's wait and watch. HCL Tech, incidentally, has been selected by Cricket Australia for the next phase of CS digital transformation. Watch out for that as well. Hinomoto Corp, well, the company says in the release that they've received a family settlement deal from the promoter group. Sunilkant Munjal has resigned and will exit the company. Pawan Munjal Group management control will stay with them. Understanding being reached by the family and Sunil Manjal on usage of the trademark hero. Is this a big shot in the arm? Who knows? Is it long awaited? Most certainly could prove positive. Let's wait and watch. Z Entertainment, SEBI's passed a confirmatory order barring Chairman Emeritus Subhash Chandra and Puneet Goenka from company boards over allegations of diversion of the company's funds. Well, if anything, everybody believes that the merger is due, and therefore, if this means it goes without them, so be it. I don't think this is a negative at all. If anything, I think this is a positive in the minds of a few people who track Z very closely. Let's wait and watch. SJV and the company signed a power purchase deals worth 7,000 crores for 1,200 megawatt solar power projects with Punjab State Power Corp. 7,000 crores, not a small number. And by the way, this is not the first deal. In the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I remember having spoken about SJVN's bagging deals of such large magnitude or around this large magnitude 2 3 times. So power is right out there. VIP, I don't know if this faces a niggle today. Anindya Datta has resigned as MD with immediate effect due to personal reasons. Anindya joined the company in 2021 from Lotte. This is not good news. The current CFO has been put up as MD designate, but this is a second resignation of very quick nature into VIP, will not be construed positively. I think you may well see a negative reaction on the stock today. Quint Digital Media, AMG Media Networks will acquire remaining 51% stake in Quintillion Business Media. QVM will become a wholly owned subsidiary of Adani AMG Media Networks. Standard disclaimer, of course, it owns BQ Prime, which is the platform that you are watching. So bear that in mind, but may have an impact on the stock. ITC shareholders will get 1 share in ITC Hotels for 10 shares held. Indicated timeline for listing of ITC Hotels is approximately 15 months. Not only that, they've also come out with results, which to a lot of brokerages' minds is actually a positive. I saw Jeffrey's note. I saw, I think, a Kotak note or a Morgan Stanley note, all of which were positive about the results that have come out from ITC. Yeah, so Jeffrey says it's truly fast moving at a time when FMCG reported modest growth. Key businesses of ITC have reported strong momentum. Cigarette volumes up 8%, FMCG revenue 16 growth, underlying margins expanded. So Jeffries is constructive there. Morgan Stanley says another good quarter on growth, and Dave, I think, revised the target prices slightly higher from 493 to from 474 to 493. Well, let's wait and watch if ITC has a positive piece to itself. Very quickly moving through some of the others, some strong results. Garware Technical Fibers, revenues up 7%, but margins expand from 13.34 to 17.88, and therefore net profit up 52%. Watch out for this one. GMR Airports, revenue up 40%, margins expand from 20.5 to 37.3, net profit at 16.84 versus a net loss of 112. Might react. HOEC, no margin expansion, but look at that solid revenue and profit growth, 100% apiece. Might react. Gensol, decent numbers, sales up 41%, EBITDA margins expand 1,000 basis points from 15 to 25%. The PAT is flat because the reported PAT, because of the tax rate of 31% versus nil in the last quarter. But the operational performance very, very strong from Gensol. But keep in mind, it's a stock that's really run up some time ago. So that's to be borne in mind. Very quickly, Hindustan Copper, a bit of a howler. Margins completely come off, 24.83% versus 36.35% for Hindustan Copper. And therefore, that stock might react. And other results in focus, along with Hindustan Copper, Swan Energy revenues up over 3x, margins have surged. And Gabriel India, highest EBITDA margin since September 2018, 19 quarters is what the beat is on. So therefore, could do well. And lastly, bulk deals. JSW Energy, GQG Partners have bought about 1.2 crore shares, which is 0.7% at 345 a piece. Let's bring that up. And Ujjivan Financial Services, BNP Paribas, has bought about 6.8 lakh shares, and Abacus has bought about 11.5 lakh shares, which is 0.9% at 495 rupees a piece. So watch out for both of these as well. A lot of you might be wondering why I've rushed through, because like I said at the start, I think it's very important to get or put the rupee situation into perspective as well. And it is important to understand what could the dollar index itself be indicating. Would it essentially be an idiosyncratic thing, or could it be a largely global move in nature with the dollar index gaining against most other currencies. Difficult to say that, but I think we've got the best person on job for that. Anindya Banerjee, VP of Currency Derivatives and Interest Rate Derivatives at Kotak Securities, has agreed to talk to us this morning. Anindya, thank you for taking the time out and thanks for your patience.
Thank you for having me.
Um, no, the pleasure is ours. So, Anindya, please tell us, there was a bit of a flutter on Monday wherein the rupee came off and went below 83. How are you reading into this?
Right. The actually the USDNR has been in a I would say the third longest consolidation phase, 11 months in 21 years. And in terms of price range, it is the narrowest range of less than 2% over that same period in the last 21 years. So this time and space. This measurement actually holds a lot of significance because whenever this currency has entered a long phase of consolidation, it has always been waiting for some kind of a fresh trigger to make the either the big move on the upside or on the downside. It seems like we are breaking out on the upside now. Such moves, which generally tends to be of like 2 to 3 rupees, don't happen in isolation. It needs to be accompanied by some major shifts in the global sentiments. Right now, we have threats, we have triggers. We don't yet have a situation where the let's say, the global risk appetite is actually melting down. We have the threat of China, we have the threat of the real interest rates in the US dollar. All those things are quite positive for the dollar index and subsequently for the USD/INR. But something we have to watch.
In your assessment, what is the probability of what the rupee does over the course of the next 1 month? You think headed lower?
Yes, in fact, the as I said, the biggest threat right now, which we are watching, is the real interest rates on the US dollar. It is at the highest levels. It's actually positive. It's highest level since 2008. Now, what happens is when the real interest rate turns positive on the US dollar, it starts to attract capital out of emerging markets and other jurisdictions into the dollar itself, and that leads to the rise in the dollar. So that's one area of concern which we watch. And the second is, of course, the Chinese economy, because the Chinese economy is in a precarious state. And the short-term prescription is quite well laid out. That is, they have to announce a large-scale stimulus, which they have been shying away from because of the debt problem. But without any large scale stimulus in China, the Chinese economy can continue to sink. And that can be negative for the Chinese currency and subsequently for all the Asian currencies, including the Indian rupee. Yes, there is a threat to the Indian rupee over the near term.
Got it. Yeah, the PBOC's made a small move yesterday, but let's see if that has a material impact. And then there one final question, really. Most of what you said thus far seems to suggest that there are no India-specific concerns or reasons which might lead for this to happen. It is global in nature. Therefore, the domino on something like this, the domino effect on something like this, or or the way markets perceive the movement in the currency to be, would it be viewed a bit more in a benign fashion, considering that it's not India specific factors which might lead to this, but global, in which even if India was very, very strong, there might still have been collateral damage?
Absolutely right. That's the reason why Indian rupee may not see the kind of volatility which the other emerging market currencies may see. Because Indian rupee has been one of the least volatile currencies over the past 2 years, when we have seen huge moves across not just currencies, commodities, and equity. Of course, RBI plays a huge part in that. So yes, because we don't have any India-specific problems, it should be Indian rupee should outperform its peers, but it cannot ignore the trend of its peers against the dollar.
Got it. Anindya, really appreciate you waiting by patiently and giving us your time this morning, more importantly, and your wisdom. Thank you for taking the time out.
Thank you.
All right, that's the view from Kotak on the rupee. Very likely that in line with some of the other currencies, the rupee may weaken as well. I would reckon that people might view it not as negatively, but there will be an impact per se if the rupee weakens. And if there is a sharp weakness, then there might be a spiral effect as well on multiple other things. Remember, the currency market and the debt market first start the reactions for anything which is global, and then the equity markets follow. It's always that way, and that order won't change. So bear that in mind. But I still say that looking at the technicals, looking at the quants, more importantly, the risk reward may not necessarily be in favor of very large leverage short trades. Now, like I said, we will talk about that um, at 9:30 a.m. with Gautam Shah. It's worth repeating that there's an important conversation. Charts tell you a story, and Gautam is as good a chartist as they come. So I'm looking forward to this conversation at 9:30, and then a clutch of other conversations during the course of the day on BQ Prime. So on earnings, there is Himanshu Modi, CFO of Suzlon, after the very successful QIP, more importantly, and not just quarterly numbers. And Sanjay Asthana, who's the CEO of Patanjali Foods, are joining to talk about the quarter one numbers, and of course for Suzlon also the fundraising that they have done and what it does to the business. Piyush Gupta, Director of Funds Research at CRISIL, talks about the fund ratings. Mohit Gang and Zuzeg Bajiwala join in on the mutual fund show with Alex to talk about everything related to mutual funds. And of course, we will also hear from the Motilal Oswal think tank on their note that they write every month and talk to us. So I'll be looking forward to talk to them today at about 10 a.m. or 10:30 a.m. So that is a conversation you might want to tune in for as well. Thanks for tuning in to the Trade Setup.